Hey everybody, it's Mr. R. In this video, I am going to show you how to add fractions with unlike denominators. Now, adding fractions with unlike denominators is very similar to adding fractions with common denominators, but there are a couple steps that we need to do first before we can add. If we look at this first problem here, 2/4 plus 3/8. Hopefully before you just start adding like normal, you recognize or you see that the denominators are not the same. Okay, we have fourths on one side and we have eighths on the other. In order to add these fractions together, we need to have common denominators. We need the pieces of the pizza or the pieces of the chocolate bar to be the same size. So the first step in order to add these sorts of fractions is to find common denominators first. And when we're first starting out, the easiest way is to just list multiples of each of our denominators. Now, multiples go on forever and ever, so 4 or 5 will do just to give us a sample to work with. So there's the multiples of 4. Here are some multiples of 8. Again, 3, 4, 5 of them, just to give us enough to get a picture of possible multiples that are in common with each other. So we are looking for the smallest number that lands on both of those lists, and that would be 8. Okay, so our first step is done. We have found the common denominators, and they need to be 8 in each of our fractions. Okay, so 8 and 8. The second thing that we need to do is rename our fractions, meaning rename or find the equivalent fraction for the two fractions we are adding together that have a denominator of 8. Well, if we know how to find equivalent fractions, then we just follow those same steps. 4 in our denominator multiplied by what gives us the 8 that we need? Well, 4 times 2 gives us 8. To find that numerator, we need to multiply by that same 2, which gives us a numerator of 4. Now the other fraction, 3/8, it just stays the same, right? It already has 8 in the denominator, so we don't have to do anything to that fraction. It stays exactly the same. Our third step is then to add our fractions together. And now that we have common denominators, we just proceed like normal. Our denominator stays the same when we add fractions. Our operation of addition only works on our numerators. So we say 4 plus 3 is 7, and 7/8 is our answer. Now our fourth step in red says simplify. We'd simplify if the answer is greater than 1 and or the numerator and denominator have a common factor, meaning we can divide the numerator and denominator by the same number, and it would give us an equivalent fraction that has a smaller numerator, smaller denominator. Well, this number 7/8, it doesn't apply to either of those. The answer is less than 1, since 7 is smaller than our denominator of 8. And there isn't a common factor of 7 and 8 aside from 1. And if we tried that, dividing by 1, we would just get 7/8 again. Okay, no change. So we're better off just leaving it 7/8 with no simplifying. Now the second problem is slightly different than our first, but we can proceed in the same through the same steps. Okay, we see our problem 5/6 plus 1/4. Hopefully before we start adding, we recognize that we do not have common denominators, and so we need to find common denominators. Now, just like before, we have our 6 in one denominator. We can list out those multiples. Since they go on forever and ever, we can try 4 or 5, and if we need to add more, we can. In this case, we won't need to add any more because the smallest number that lands on both lists is 12. So our common denominator will be 12 for each. Um, we go through the same steps. Now on part 2 where we rename our fractions, 6 times what is 12 in the denominator? 6 times 2. That means we need to multiply that numerator by the same 2. 5 in the numerator times 2 is 10. We repeat for the other one. 4 times what is 12? Well, 4 times 3 in this case. That numerator is going to be multiplied by the same 3. And numerator of 1 times 3 gives us a new numerator of 3. Okay, 5/6 is equal to 10/12, and 1/4 is equal to 3/12. So we're still adding the same values, but we now have common denominators, which means we can add. When we add our fractions, our denominator stays the same. Our operation of addition only works on the numerators. So 10 plus 3 equals 13. And really, we could stop right there. 13/12 is the correct answer, at least the correct value. However, it is written as an improper fraction. Now, when we have an improper fraction, that is the right value, but we usually try to simplify it to a mixed number. Okay, and a mixed number, or at least how we would change it, is by taking out all of the whole pizzas or whole chocolate bars, and then if there's anything left over, we will attach it as a fraction at the end. Okay, well, our denominator is 12, which means there are 12 pieces of pizza in one whole pizza. If we ate every single piece of the pizza, that would be 12 pieces because there's 12 parts per whole. However, there are 13 pieces in all, so we can't forget to add that one extra piece, that 1/12 needs to be counted. That 12/12 here is equal to one whole unit. That 1/12 there is attached on at the end, and that is what we call a mixed number. Now remember, this is the exact same value as 13/12. Those are the same thing. We just simplified that improper fraction of 13/12 into a mixed number of 1 and 1/12. That's one whole pizza and 1/12 more of the pizza. Okay, hopefully that helped. I'm going to scroll down now and give a couple practice problems for you to work through that are very similar to the problems up above. The third question there is very similar to question 1 in our lesson above, and question 4 is very similar to question 2 in our lesson above as well. Okay, so I'll give you a chance to pause the video. You can get out some scratch paper and work through these two problems on your own. And then in just a few seconds, I'll show the answer for you to check your work. Okay, thank you so much for watching. If you have any recommendations on things that you would like to learn, go ahead and put it in the comments down below. I'd be happy to help you out.